This is a 2004 Toyota Tacoma, and today we are going to replace the front brake pads and rotors. This is Joe. He's going to be our mechanic today, and he's going to take care of that for us.
Hi, today we're going to change the brake pads on this 2004 Toyota Tacoma. The brake pads have been pretty much due for quite a while now. The squealers are down to the rotor, so it's making all kinds of noise. The brake rotors are badly warped, so the owner's getting a bad pulsation when he hits the brake, which is a good sign the rotors are ready to be changed. So first step, what we're going to want to do, well, we got all our tools laid out here. For this particular job, we're going to need a hammer, a big hammer. We're going to need a 17mm wrench or a ratchet with a 17mm. We're going to need something to take the lug nuts off. In this case, we're going to use a tire 4-way. You're going to need 2 flathead screwdrivers, a little screwdriver, a punch, a little hammer, some pliers may be necessary, they're not required, and a bungee, or something to hold the caliper up out of the way. We've also got some brake parts cleaner and some WD-40 or any kind of general lubricant will work. Roll the wheel out of your way. Now we have full access to our braking system. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to spray a little bit of WD-40 or any other kind of lubricant will work on this ring right around where the hub meets the rotor. Reason for that, you can look in there and it's pretty rusty, and while I'm working on the other stuff, that'll give it time to soak in there and hopefully make the rotor come off easier. Don't need too much, just a little bit right around that seam there. And we'll let that sit while we're working. Next step, if you look at this caliper, you'll see this is a 4-piston caliper. Most vehicles only have 1, maybe 2. This truck has a lot of the Toyota trucks actually use this design. It's got two pistons on this side and 2 on this side. So you've got pistons that squeeze these brake pads from all 4. The caliper actually just sits still while the pistons do all the work. Alright, first step, we got to get this clip out. This clip, it holds these 2 pins in. These 2 pins are what hold the brake pads in. So to get this clip out, what we got to do is just kind of pry this here, the centerpiece out, and once that's free, then the rest of the clip will be free to pull out of these 2 pins here. See, there's the clip. All that does is keep those pins from falling out, and the pins keep the pads from falling out. Once you have this clip out, these little pins just tap right out. So you take a little punch, and if they're not rusted in, I'll start with this one down here. There it goes. See it move? It popped out a little bit. Alright, once you get this pin freed up, you can just knock it out. Once you get it out all the way, you can grab some pliers and just kind of twist it. That's normal for that clip to pop out. That's what it looks like. Now before we put this back in, we're going to want to clean this up and get some of that rust off and lubricate it a little bit. Now that clip, this thing is just going to hang out here until that other pin comes out. So to get the other pin out, just do the same thing. Just kind of tap it out. Once it gets out most of the way, grab it with pliers and just twist it and pull it out. So now you got a little pile of your hardware going on. You got your 2 pins, your clip, and this, it's actually called an anti-rattle clip. It puts pressure against the brake pads and keeps them from rattling, is what that is. So now that those are out, now the brake pads will come out. What we got to do is get free them up just a little bit, because right now there's still a little bit of pressure pushing those against the rotor, so they're in there real tight. Best way to do that on these is you just take a screwdriver and just kind of put it right in there between the rotor and pry back on it, and you'll see it's pushing in those pistons a little bit. Alright, before you push those pistons in all the way, one little thing you want to remember to do is take off this brake fluid cap. Because when you push those pistons in, the brake fluid level is going to rise, and that'll let the fluid, the extra air, escape out. The brake pads, you can see the 4 pistons. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the caliper itself, and then this right here is the rotor. We're going to be replacing that too. The trick on these is you want to compress the pistons while everything's still together with your old brake pads, and I'll show you why in a second here. The trick to doing it, you just take a screwdriver, put it right here, right against the rotor and the brake pad, and you pry out a little bit. And as it pries out, you just kind of work your screwdriver in there. And you can go ahead and compress one side all the way. Give it a little bit of pretty good tug on it. Make sure they're already all the way in there. Now you'll watch, if you go to compress the other side now, the side you just compressed will pop back out. That's because these brake pistons all share the same brake fluid on the same caliper. So what you have to do is hold one side while you do the other. So basically you just put 2 screwdrivers in there and just pull them apart. And you'll see all 4 pistons will go in. And once you're sure those are all in all the way, this is the reason you want to do it with your old pads too. You'll see that just doing that destroyed this old pad, and you don't want to do that to your new pads or rotors. So once those pistons are all the way in, you can slide the old brake pad out and throw them aside. Got to break loose the caliper bolts. There are 2 bolts on this truck that hold the caliper on. One's right here, and the other one's right up here, right behind this brake hose. These are usually pretty tight, so you want to have something with some leverage on it. I've got the caliper bolts out. One important thing, you never want the caliper to hang from the brake hose. You can destroy the brake hose. The inner liner will break, and if that happens, it can block the flow of brake fluid going to the caliper. It will cause all kinds of problems. So you want to support that brake caliper good. What I'm going to use is a little bungee cord. I'm going to pick it up, and the whole time I'm supporting it, to keep it from hanging from that brake hose, I'm going to wrap it around the upper control arm in this truck. There's always going to be somewhere you can hang it from. I'm just going to tie it off. See how it's just hanging there? Brake hose is plenty slack.